Hi, this is Sandy from Spitfire's support team, and today we're going to take a look at the interface for British Drama Toolkit. So when we first open British Drama Toolkit and load the main NKI, we'll be presented with the velocity layer view. This is the simplest of the views. Along the bottom here, we have a list of articulations, and above that, we have the various velocity layers for the selected articulation. Some will have 3, and you'll see texture, soft, and loud, and some of them will only have 2, such as texture and soft in this case. You can select articulations by simply clicking on the one that you want, or along the bottom here, this red range of key switches will also do the same. You can either click those in contact, or play them on your MIDI keyboard to make the selection. Next to the red range, you have the blue range, which represents the playable range of the selected articulation, or articulations. When I play back some notes on the MIDI keyboard here, you'll see that the notes that are being played are displayed as black bars, showing which of the layers is currently being played by that note. You can select multiple articulations at a time by either shift-clicking on them in the interface, or by playing more than one key switch at a time on your controller. In this case, the velocity layer for the most recently selected articulation will be displayed. At the top of the sidebar on the left here, we have buttons for the 2 other views. The first view, the general overview, doesn't have the velocity layers, but it does have some other controls here. We have a mic mixer. In this particular library there are 2 mic perspectives, close and tree, represented by the fader with a C and a fader with a T. Underneath the fader you'll see an on-off switch. When this is greyed out, like it is for close at the moment, that means it's unloaded from memory, and when it's solid black, like the tree mic here, then it means it's loaded to memory. Note the memory here at the top will increase as I load the close mic. You can also unload a mic by dragging the fader right down to 0, or load it by dragging it up from 0. To the right of the mic mix here, we have 2 other controllers. On the right is expression, which is a simple volume trim, which can be useful for adding just an extra bit of emotive expression. On the right is an expression control. This is a simple volume control. It can be useful for adding just an extra little bit of emotion to your playing. On the left here, we have a reverb control. This is a simulated reverb, and there is a little bit added by default. If I pull this all the way to the left, you'll hear that it's completely devoid of any reverb, and you only hear the original room. And as I drag it to the right, we'll hear the simulated reverb increasing. This can be useful for making it fit within your mix better, or for just adding a little bit of ambience to the sound. The third of our views is the expert view, which you can reach by clicking on this small black wrench or spanner icon here. The first thing to note in the expert view is that we now have microchip icons underneath our faders for the mic positions, as well as for the articulations. Clicking these will either unload, which makes them grey, or load them back into memory, which makes them black. This can be useful if you have limited resources, or if you want to make sure that everything is loaded. Also on the mic mix, we've got a few additional icons now. The first of which, this icon here, is a velocity response curve. This allows you to set the responsiveness to shelf, exponential negative, exponential positive, or some kind of custom curve, depending on the response of your controller. This is especially useful in British Drama Toolkit because velocity is a very important parameter. Next to the velocity control, this small icon with the 2 arrows pointing together is our stereo controls. You have checkboxes for each of the mics so that you can make adjustments on a mic per mic basis, and you have control over both the stereo width and the stereo pan of the sound. And next to that icon, this musical note icon is the per articulation mixer. So with this black, the changes you make to the mic mix and the stereo width are per articulation. So any changes I make now will only affect the selected tutti long string loud articulation. With this greyed out, the changes you make will be global. The final icon on the right here, this floppy disk, allows you to save and load, as well as copy and paste or reset your mix settings from other NKIs. To the right of our mic mix, we have our options. This drop-down menu labelled Presets has the different memory presets. The default is normal. This means that the tree will be loaded and the close will not, and all articulations will be loaded to memory. Power will load absolutely everything to memory. Not all of these will apply to this library, as these are generic. So for instance, there are no shorts in this library, so choosing shorts will unload all articulations from memory. Unless you want to change the memory load of the instrument, I'd recommend leaving that untouched. Underneath that drop-down menu, we have an option for Purge Unused. This means that when a microchip is greyed out like this, that will not be loaded to memory. If I uncheck this box, you'll see that the memory load doubles, as everything is still loaded to memory, whether or not it's in use. Underneath the Purge Unused option, we have a Transpose option. This transposes the playable range of the instrument. Please note that it doesn't actually transpose the samples, it transposes the playable range. So for instance, if I take our phrase from before and play that transposed up one octave, we aren't pitch shifting the samples this time. What we're doing is transposing the notes that are being played so that they trigger the zones one octave higher. The same can be done for lower as well. If you want to pitch shift the samples themselves, use Kontact's built-in tune control in the top right here. Next to our general options for memory, we have round robin options. In this library, it's a single drop-down menu, which allows you to layer up the round robins in various different ways which are explained in the manual. This can help thicken the sound if you want it to sound like a slightly larger ensemble. And on the right-hand side here, these controllers are the same reverb and expression controllers from the simple general overview. Finally, in the bottom left of the sidebar in the expert view, we have a few other advanced controls here. On the right-hand side, we have a padlock icon, which is a drop-down menu, which allows you to lock to different modes of switching articulations. So for instance, if you're using our Universal Articulation CC or Universal Articulation CC key switch, then you might want to lock to one of those. Leaving it unlocked, it will respond to both UACC, which is CC32, as well as clicking on the interface and the key switches. It's best left that way if you intend to use the default key switches. Next to the padlock, we have an icon here, which is the CC for UACC. By default, this will be set to 32. But right-clicking will allow you to assign that to any other MIDI parameter. The same goes for the faders for things like microphones, where you can assign those or find out what the assignment is by right-clicking, and as well as the controllers for reverb and expression. To the left of our CC here, we have what's called the keyboard shimmier. Clicking and dragging on this will transpose the red range of keys, which you can see at the bottom here, moving left and right as I drag left and right. This can be useful if you have a smaller keyboard or you want to move it slightly closer to the range for playability. And finally, on the left-hand side, in the very bottom corner, we have the punch cog. This allows you to tweak the last round robin that you heard, either in tuning or volume, or skipping entirely. So if I tweak the last played note, we have options to skip this round robin, adjust the volume and tuning, or adjust the volume and tuning of the release. You can also remove any tweaks that you've made in case you do something that you don't like. That's it for our quick look at how the interface works for British Drama Toolkit. If you've got any other questions, it's best to look in the manual first, which you can find on the product page under Key Stats. Or if you're still stuck, don't hesitate to reach out to us at spitfireaudio.com/support. Thank you.